Hello little cretins and church deacons, Dahlia is an attack speed buffing shield support that can work as a free-to-play shielder in all comps that scale with attack speed. He works best alongside units like Skirk and Arlecchino, but other units that do not have hit lag on their normal attacks will also work incredibly well. Dahlia works best using Noblesse Oblige, though Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City can be better depending on the team. He works best with mostly HP main stats, but he also needs a huge amount of energy recharge too. Because of this, the Favonius Sword is his best weapon since it completely fixes his energy issues while still allowing him to support his team. Hi, I'm Aaron, and this is your Too Long Didn't Watch. If this is all the information you wanted, then I want to thank you for stopping by. But if you would like to support me, then you can take a bite out of that delectable... Oh, I don't know how to pronounce that. Hot flavored subscribe button down below and or keep the video playing. I feel like I butchered that pronunciation. For everyone still here, let's get on with Dahlia, starting with his overview. Dahlia is a Hydro defensive support that focuses on boosting the attack speed of the on-field party member. The skill summons a deployable that will deal AoE Hydro damage, scaling based on his attack when an enemy touches it, or it will launch an ally up into the air when a party member touches it. After either is done, this deployable will disappear. Dahlia's Elemental Burst deals AoE Hydro damage, scaling based on his attack. Then it will grant his party members Favonian favor, summoning a shield, scaling based on his HP onto them. While this effect is active, Dahlia will consume 1 stack of Benison when the shield is broken or runs out in order to summon a new one. Dahlia will gain 1 stack of Benison after the current active party member hits opponents 4 times with normal attacks while they are affected by Favonian favor, and a max of 5 stacks can be obtained per Favonian favor duration. His first Ascension passive grants him 2 stacks of Benison when the current active party member affected by Favonian favor triggers Frozen. Dahlia's Ascension 4 passive will increase the attack speed of the character affected by Favonian favor based on his HP, capping at 20% attack speed at 37,500 HP. Dahlia's talent priority is pretty simple. Skip his skill and normal attacks. They deal low damage and have weak scalings unless you're going for some wacky setup. Focus on leveling his burst instead, as it provides solid defensive utility for the unit on field. For combos, Dahlia has the same old bread and butter. Skill, then burst. Easy peasy. With Dahlia's base kit out of the way, let's dive into his constellations and what they actually bring to the table. Dahlia's C1 gives him 2.5 energy every time he gains a stack of Benison, potentially reducing his burst cost from 60 to 48.5 and cutting his energy needs by 40 to 50%. This would let him use swords other than Favonius Sword, but unfortunately, Dahlia has few viable sword options beyond it. So while the energy reduction is nice and can potentially be impactful in the future, it doesn't lead to any meaningful buffs in the current moment. Dahlia's C2 increases the shield strength of the active character when a Benison stack is consumed. Wowee, how useful! Yeah, no, it's not. This only boosts the shield after the first one is consumed and only when a new shield is summoned on the main DPS. Even when active, the buff is barely impactful, making this a pretty underwhelming constellation. His C3 increases his elemental burst level by 3. This increases his damage by a minor amount, but it also increases his shield's health pool by a chunk that's larger than his C2. However, it still doesn't make it good. Dahlia's C4 extends his burst duration from 12 to 15 seconds, improving his shield uptime. While it's nice for more consistent protection, it doesn't really change how he's played since he's meant to be used right before the main DPS anyway. It's a pure convenience constellation. Dahlia's C5 increases his elemental skill level by 3, giving a small damage boost. However, since he contributes to only about 1% of your team's total damage, this constellation has almost no impact. And finally, we have Dahlia's C6, which grants a 10% attack speed boost to the active party member and revives a fallen ally to full HP once every 15 minutes. A real 1.0 constellation we have here. While the revival ability is pointless in most situations and the attack speed buff is minimal, it's still his best constellation. Not because it's good, but because his others are even worse. The attack speed buff can boost a normal attacking main DPS's damage by up to 8.3%, but this is rarely utilized at its fullest potential. Dahlia's constellations overall are absolutely miserable. They mostly offer Dahlia more convenience, but each one changes almost nothing about him. The only one that does is his final constellation, which would increase the damage of the main DPS he is buffing by potentially a decent amount, but in many situations, going from C0 to C6 would only lead to a main DPS contributing to more normal attacks. That's it. Everything else about Dahlia teams and setups will be the exact same. How absolutely disappointing. With his underwhelming kit all wrapped up, it's time to gear up Dahlia, starting with artifact options. Dahlia has two sets that he works best with, Noblesse Oblige and Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City. Noblesse Oblige's 20% attack buff is best for him right now since it is super consistent, and since his best teams would benefit more from attack percent over damage percent. Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City is a good option too, especially if trying to reduce his energy requirements, but he needs to trigger the correct reaction. Dahlia only has 2 chances to do this, which might not be feasible. This set would be better when a Hydro normal attack HP scaling PTPS is released, but otherwise it did not seem to be as beneficial as Noblesse Oblige right now. When it comes to main stats, Dahlia wants to focus mostly on HP in order to make that shield somewhat decent. However, he does have some energy issues due to his below average particle generation, so he will usually want an energy recharge Sands except when he's using Favonia's sword. In this case, an HP Sands will be better. For a goblet, HP is best since there is no other option, and HP on the circlet is great too, though a crate circlet can also work well if he is being used with Favonia's sword. For substats, he needs enough energy recharge in order to use his elemental burst consistently, else he's pretty useless. His burst cost is pretty low, but since his personal energy generation is even lower, he normally needs to be run with a lot of energy recharge, even after his C1. Without Favonia's sword, this requirement can go as high as 260%. With the Favonia's sword, you can see it dip to a much more comfortable 170%. After you figure out his energy needs, focus mostly on the HP to buff his shield. After that, crit is the only other stat of any value he has, though it is not as important as the others are unless you are using Favonia's sword. Then, at that point, you would want a decent amount of crit rate. With artifacts done with, it's time to mention Dahlia's weapon options. Favonia's sword is Dahlia's best in slot weapon. This is because it almost completely solves his energy issues while also providing additional energy for the team. That's really all there is to it. There are not many HP swords for Dahlia to utilize, and of the ones available, he cannot make full use of them. This means that Favonia's sword will provide the best overall stats over HP swords as it enables him to full send into HP. The only other sword he can kind of use is Freedom Sword, but that is only if he triggers a reaction on both his skill and his burst. If he misses at all, then all of the benefits that Dahlia gets from using this sword are tossed into the dumpster, so Favonia's sword all the way. Most characters have another character that they pair well with to deal insane amounts of damage since they are able to make use of each other very well. However, Dahlia does not have that as he gets no benefit from others currently, and there is no unit that makes major use out of his utility. So we are skipping synergies and moving straight into team comps. First up is alongside Skirk or any other normal attacking Cryo or Hydro main DPS when used with Escoffier. This is where he works best because he can actually buff these DPS units while also fitting into Skirk and or Escoffier's team comp restricting passive effects. Next we have Dahlia alongside Wanderer. He works well here because Wanderer's normal attacks do not have any hit lag. Dahlia also has the benefit that his element can extend Wanderer's on-field DPS window. While he does work well here, he cannot enable Fiorina, who contributes to a considerable amount of team damage while also buffing everyone too. However, he could potentially be incredible in this spot in the future if we do receive a support character like Fiorina but focus on benefiting shields, or if we end up going into a meta where the main DPS wants to be on field for a significant amount of time. The last good spot he has is as a vape support for characters that can scale with attack speed like Yoimiya and Arthakino. His ability to buff each of these units' damage by a pretty decent amount is his main benefit, but he also doubles as a shielder, which makes playing both of these characters much more comfortable. While he might not be the best in these situations, he is still pretty good here, though not a replacement for Bennett. Now, with team comps out of the way, let's wrap things up with Dahlia's rating. Dahlia has some pretty low scaling, low frequency of attacks, and his abilities deal damage based on a stat that he doesn't scale best with. He also cannot build directly into damage because his energy needs are so high and his shield requires so much HP to be decent. So Dahlia will usually deal little damage, earning him a 1 out of 5. Dahlia has 2 instances of AoE Hydro application. This is enough to reset most auras to Hydro or just reset them to neutral. This isn't much, which puts his application at a 0.5 out of 5. In terms of offensive buffing, he does not have much at all. He has a 30% normal attack speed buff, which can boost a single unit's damage output by 30% at maximum, but it will most likely be significantly lower instead due to hit lag, most characters' ability to deal other forms of damage, and some characters' inability to effectively use normal attack speed. On top of that, it's also only single target, so Dahlia only gets a 0.5 out of 5 for offensive utility. Dahlia's battery potential is also pretty terrible. He generates 3 particles, which is one of the lowest we have seen recently. Since he is also reliant on his elemental burst, he desperately needs these particles for himself, so he cannot support others effectively with this particle generation, earning him a 1 out of 5. In terms of defense, he has a weak shield that is meant to constantly break. That's it, earning him a 1.5 5 out of 5. Flexibility and versatility is Dahlia's saving grace. He's a defensive offensive support hybrid, and because he offers an attack speed buff, he could be used by quite a good bit of characters. However, almost everyone would prefer to not use him at all since his numbers are so low, netting him a 2 out of 5. Overall, Dahlia is a weak support with multiple issues of very lackluster buff and shield. This earns him the lowest score I have given to a character in recent memory of 1 out of 5. He simply has nothing remotely powerful or strong in his kit, and he has to build so much HP and energy recharge that he can't make room for other stats without Favonia's sword. Dahlia has almost nothing going for him, and he instead completely relies on other units who carry his teams to success. But that's all I have to say about Dahlia. Now tell me your thoughts. What do you think of him? Do you intend to use him in the way he was made, or do you intend to do something funky with him? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. But with that, I will wish you all farewell. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye bye.